Yes. It's time for your man, Chris V. And Nando and Fino here. Fantasy Empire. You love it. We love it. Chris Vacarro is super sick. So, what do you do?
Fighting through it still, Nando.
Are you fighting through it? Look, at least try and get your head in the same area code as mine.
That's pretty bad.
Nando,
what's going on, man?
Hold on. I gotta let me bring myself down 10 feet. So.
Every week it's a disaster entrance. Unbelievable.
But now my face
is right.
My face is being cut off. There we go.
People don't tune in to look at your face though, Nando. So how we feeling, buddy? Week 16, 2 weeks left here. And pressure is mounting.
You want to see something, man? Hold on. I got to show you this. I had a crushing defeat, and I'm sure everybody cares.
Oh, can we? While you look at your crushing defeat, I took a crushing defeat too in a home league, big money league, Nando, where I was a 42-point favorite for the week.
Yeah,
my team, and this guy's team was so bad that he started Patrick Taylor, at running back. My team was so loaded that I had 5 guys on the bench that I was like, I got to get these guys in. And then I wake up Sunday morning and my top 2 receivers, Tyreek Hill and Chris Olave, are no-goes. And I have to bring in 2 guys off my bench because I didn't play guys like that played on Saturday that I should have. And I wind up losing 128 to 127, with Gabe Davis's 0 in my lineup. And Brandon McManus missing 2 kicks.
That's gotta hurt.
Late Sunday to lose the game. So just devastated because I had no business. I can't see that.
That's one. I lost 121.95 to 121.55.
Oh, yeah. So even worse than me. That's brutal.
I don't even know what I mean.
There you go. All your playoff teams are out, right? Because you only had 1, right? That's your.
I got 3 more. We're still alive. And plus, I'm number 2. I'm second in a best ball, like a best ball winner take all kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, you're killing it, buddy. You're killing
it. I
it.
am. I'm really proud of myself today and every day. You can't see it. People can't. Well, I don't want to show it because I don't want to reveal your home address. But the annual Chris Vacarro Merry Christmas.
It's the annual Christmas present time. Yes.
Let me try and mail that out today.
I can't wait to see what I get this year.
Chris Vacarro skipped our
something
company.
Mocking me.
No, have I ever?
Every week, yeah.
Let's get to it. You wrote a rundown, and I didn't even look at it.
Well, you wrote a rundown this week. I wrote a rundown this week. Mine's obviously way better, what the people want.
Yeah, I don't think so, man.
Nobody wants to hear yours. And I'm just saying, but yours it was another wild week 15, Nando, in fantasy football. We lost a couple more really good players. Now it's sounding like CJ Stroud isn't even going to make it back for fantasy owners. And, that was one of the major stories of last week was the all the quarterback fill-ins and the quarterbacks that littered the leaderboard that are pretty much backups and no names, So we'll get into that as well.
Will we?
Yes, we will.
I still can't find what you wrote here. You know what it is? I bought a lot of stuff for Christmas, and I got your orders on the way. Fanatics order on the way,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So anyway, so 1 through 8 on your rundown is Jamar Chase versus CeeDee Lamb. The next one's CeeDee Lamb versus Jamar Chase. And the next one is CeeDee Lamb. Chrissy V, you said you didn't want to do the show today because you were coughing so much, but you sound fine. I'm glad I talked you into this.
Don't jinx it, Nando, but I've been coughing up a storm for the last couple hours, and it just died down a little bit. That's why I got my hot tea here, and we're ready to go. So
all right, let's go with what I think. I'm not going off yours. I'm going off one that we haven't written. I think people who are this far in need to know what to do with their Falcons because there hasn't been a more frustrating team. And now, I guess you could be like, okay, this is my final 4. Heineke's starting, and people do better with Heineke, even though it's slightly better and it's not like Drake London's normal, like what we expected still, unless it's one of those Drake London weeks, right? What are you doing with Bijan Robinson, Drake London? Kyle Pitts has got to be long gone. I can't imagine a lot of teams are starting Kyle Pitts at tight end right now. What's Chrissy V doing?
Not with the tight ends that have emerged. I think Kyle Pitts you could do better than him. But as for the other guys, the Bijan Robinson thing, Nando, I don't know what, like, Bijan Robinson completely bombed out, in the first week of the fantasy playoffs. Okay. So for people that have him, if you're still alive, listen, the truth of the matter is this. It was a sloppy game in Carolina. They started going back and giving Algier and mixing in Cordaro, your boy, Cordaro Patterson, touches as well. They kind of made it like it was a 3-man backfield. We just have to hope as Bijan Robinson owners that it was an outlier week and crazy Arthur Smith, sees the results of last week's game and goes back to, giving him the majority of the touches. There's no way if you have Bijan Robinson, unless you have one of these crazy stack teams where you hit on all the main running backs late, the Raheem Mosterts, the Kyron Williams, and James Cook. You could draft those three guys maybe on a Bijan Robinson team, okay, that you're considering sitting Bijan Robinson. This is just one of those situations where you have to grin and bear it, and you play Bijan Robinson. As for all the other guys on the Falcons, those are all debatable, okay? Drake London, we saw him. He was coming on hot as well. I would still go right back to Drake London, Nando. No questions asked, versus this Colts defense that, you can move the ball on the Colts defense. There's, it's not one of those matchups where you see them and you're like, oh, I got to get my players out of the lineup. I'm facing the Colts defense. So I feel pretty good actually about Bijan Robinson, the player, but it's Arthur Smith that I worry about. But that's everybody in the fantasy industry has the same situation. We've
been doing it all year. This has been like happening every week. Yeah.
Okay. And then what happens? I don't hear you saying anything on the weeks where Drake London drops a 28 and Bijan a 26. It's just hit or miss. There's no consistency in the Falcons.
What do you want me to say?
Week. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering.
There's no consistency.
You take a different approach now. The chips are down. You know what I mean? I think you got a bad connection today. I don't think it's me. I think it's you.
Why am I freezing up?
You're getting chippy. I don't know if is it me?
Right.
Is it you? Is it me? Is it you? I don't know. Anyway, speaking of the
Nando,
Colts,
speaking of running,
hit on them real quick.
Speaking of running backs,
speaking of the Colts,
go ahead.
I want to talk about the Colts. No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I was just messing.
No, go ahead. Seriously, come on.
Well, no, I just wanted you brought him up. I was just. It is also speaking of running backs. Should you be picking up like every Colts running back and getting rid of like maybe a couple even in your head? Like, I don't know how to play this Colts thing at all. Like, I just went out and basically picked everybody up who I didn't have already.
Oh, great!
Like Sermon and Hudson are on my team.
Okay. Well,
and now just wait. Now we can just wait. Right?
We're in complete limbo right now because it's Wednesday morning, and the rumor is that Jonathan Taylor is going to make it back for this week. And if that's the case, then everyone else is useless. Zach Moss killed his fantasy owners, even though he gave him 12 fantasy points, but leaving that game early and then seeing what Goodson and Sermon did with like 170 combined rushing yards on 30-something carries between the two of them. Zach Moss was primed for a 30-point fantasy day in that one. So he really hurt all of us that put him out there. But, the story is that he's going to try and gut it out this week as well. So I wouldn't make Goodson and Sermon a priority because one of those two guys is going to wind up coming back and starting for the Colts this week.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know what to do. I mean, like, man, whatever. Even if Moss and Taylor were out, I still don't know if you could pick a winner from the other two. Right? Like I've heard both people.
It'll be a 60-40 backfield, and both guys will get the touches. You're not going to see Trey Sermon get 28 carries in that game, so it'll definitely be split up.
Trey Sermon was the guy for like 4 months in San Francisco. You remember that? Before he played. Like that draft season was 2 years ago when I was like, oh, Trey Sermon. It's Trey Sermon time. Remember that? You were one of those people. You loved Trey Sermon.
Yeah, it was definitely. That was the story of week 15, Nando, was that, the running backs. We make all this hay about wide receivers all year long. We're in a crazed wide receiver industry, and everybody wants to know, who's the wide receivers that are going to win fantasy? And, the running backs get pushed to the backside pretty much. And then the fantasy playoffs start, and they were the story of week 15. And now going forward, these next 2 weeks, I don't see how you don't look at fantasy teams and go, well, which running backs do these teams have? I don't think you could say that about the wide receiver position, Nando, going forward here. There's so many injuries and there's so many receivers that are falling off and not carrying fantasy teams. But you look up here, and after week 1 and for these next 2 weeks, it's about the running backs. So isn't it funny how fantasy works, about how we talk about receivers all year long, and now it's really about the running backs going forward, about who's going to lead you to a title. Okay. If you look at the scoring at the running back position this past week, obviously the king of kings, Christian McCaffrey, carries everybody, 42 fantasy points. I was just staring, I have no Christian McCaffrey, and Nando just coming off of a game where I don't think he got in the end zone in week 14, but going into that Arizona game, it was just what number is he going to put up? It's going to be 30 plus. And he goes and breaks the bank with a 42-point fantasy performance. And then after that, the talk of fantasy right now, James Cook, 36 fantasy points. Kyron Williams, who's been an absolute stud, 27 points. Jameer
is he top
Gibbs,
3 for you next year?
Kyron Williams, it's too early to get into the next year talk, just because we have to see we just have to see what other team, what they bring in around them, what they draft, everything gets factored in. So
here we go. Here
I
comes
hate
the
that
Vacarro.
talk right now.
There it is, the Vacarro.
Listen, Kyron Williams is definitely going to be a top, at the top of the draft boards with, without anything else factoring in. But listen, it's crazy. We even had the fill-ins, Nando. We talked about it last week, and we've talked about it for weeks. Put the stashes on your bench, right? Your boy Clyde Edwards-Helaire that you've been talking about for weeks, right?
Yes.
He comes in, he gives 20 fantasy points. Imagine carrying these guys that pretty much did nothing for you all year long.
But you knew he was going to do nothing unless someone gets hurt. That was the whole point. You knew he was going to do nothing.
Yeah. Okay. So I know, but that's why he sits at the ends of your bench or on the waiver wire. And then you get guys like this. And who's the stars of week 15? Clyde Edwards-Helaire helps you out with 20 fantasy points. Ty Chandler helps you out with 25 fantasy points. And now he's in play going forward. And then another one, a favorite of ours, Zamir White, that was useless for 14 weeks. Zamir White, everybody even got rid of him before. They didn't even want to handcuff Josh Jacobs. He comes in and chips in 17 and a half fantasy points. So, these are the guys that helped contribute in week 15. And, maybe this upcoming week too, but the story is the running backs. Which ones do you have? And if you have a combination of these guys coming into week 16, I think you're set up for a lot of success.
Hold that thought. You know what time it is. First of all, it's time. Secondly,
oh, I see it every day online, every single day. Hey, that looks like a great fantasy team in an 8-team league. Oh, wish I could be in a league with you, right? Well, guess what? Now you can respond with, sure, let's play on Bettle. That's the beauty of this platform. This new Bettle platform standardizes all position scoring. So you just load your team and you challenge your friend, your colleague, Twitter troll, and you can browse other teams and issue challenges. Bettle is revolutionizing fantasy football. And with code Underworld, you get a $100 instant deposit match plus a free $10. So even if you deposit $20, you get $50. Think about that. So go to Bettle.com. The code is Underworld. Bettle.com. The code is Underworld. Or click a link in the description. It's fun to be right.
we're back. Chris Vacarro on his poor Wi-Fi connection, and me, his friend Nando. Chris voted down Joel Pinheiro coming on the show today. I thought it was pretty messed up. He would have been a good third co-host, especially with your coughing fit that made you want to cancel the show. Remember that? Anyway, we got a question.
Joe
First of all,
doesn't
shout out to
believe
Joey
it.
Brown. Every week, shout out to Joey Brown. Ty needs to pick up a quarterback if Lawrence is ruled out. Who do you like, Flacco, Mullins, or Heineke?
Oh, I love Mullins going forward.
You do?
Yeah.
You're so unpredictable with some stuff. It's amazing.
Nah, Mullins would be the guy that if you're in home leagues and you need to go grab a quarterback, that's who I would go and grab just because of the offense that he's in charge of. Okay. And he's got the matchup. He's indoors. There's 2 major games this week, Nando, that you want as many pieces as you can get. And if you could get the starting quarterback of the Vikings offense in a game versus the Lions indoors with a total approaching 50, that's the quarterback you want. Yeah. Who was the other 2 quarterbacks? Not Flacco
and Heineke.
And definitely not Heineke. No, absolutely not. It's Mullins. Clearly.
What do you think of Tommy DeVito's
age? Jefferson, you get an oncoming Jordan Addison who put up a monster game, okay? And you get, a top 3 tight end. You get to put them all together. I mean, indoors versus the Lions, it's Mullins. I'd say Mullins is a top 8 to 10 fantasy QB option. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but
I think that's an incredibly hot take.
I don't know.
Let me check Jake's rankings. He's usually
do that during the show, Nando.
Well, I mean, do you want me to do it after the show when no one can hear the answer?
Go ahead.
I will. You talk. I know what you want to do. Let's talk about another vague topic that you have on your rundown. Jags offense is shot. There, we just talked about Trevor Lawrence. Jag, you're right. The dude's playing on a high ankle sprain. Though. Can we give him a break? All these people on Twitter were like, it
has nothing to do with the high ankle sprain.
Lawrence
he looked
sucks.
Pretty good.
Lawrence
Wait, you know what's funny?
Talent.
Yeah, you say a high ankle sprain, and meanwhile, at the end of the game, he's taking off and running and looking like a deer running, for 40, 50 fantasy yards, for rushing yards. So, no, it has nothing to do with his ankle sprain, and he looks to be clearly over that. It's the fact that he just keeps losing pieces of this offense. It's a broken offense. He's in a lot of trouble. It looks like at the end of that game, Zay Jones hobbled off. And if we know anything about this Jags offense, it seems like Zay Jones is like a missing piece. So I don't know if Zay Jones is going to be there. But this offense is pretty much down to Calvin Ridley and Evan Ingram. And I don't think that's enough to support Trevor Lawrence. So as a Trevor Lawrence owner, not only do you have to wait all week long and see if he gets over this concussion and gets cleared by the weekend, it's a 4:30 game. And so that's even, you got to factor in your other possibilities. A lot of us that are in high stakes contests, we have quarterbacks that might start on Thursday or Saturday or early Sunday. And if we don't have clarity on Trevor Lawrence, we have to turn elsewhere. And with the quarterback landscape looking the way it is, we don't know what to do at the quarterback position. We're at a point now where Baker Mayfield is looking like a superstar again. Like it's just crazy. There's not much. And we talked about that last week, Nando, about the quarterback position for fantasy. There was 4 or 5 guys you can trust. And, heading into this week, I think you're right looking at that same number. That's why guys like a Nick Mullins is, in play.
Here's a question from Matt Leahy, who I almost put in timeout by accident again. You guys like Stafford to keep it rolling this week versus New Orleans? Stafford over Kyler at Chicago this week?
Yeah, I'd go Stafford over Kyler this week just because, you get a home. You got a game in the Dome versus the Saints. He's got his 2 healthy wide receivers back. The offense is clicking. He didn't put up the numbers that I was hoping this past week versus Washington, but he did save his game. That was another weird game. It was 3-0 at the 2-minute warning in the first half. Everybody was completely bombing out. And then luckily we got enough fantasy production late in the game that everybody pretty much got saved. But I like Stafford for, the usual 275 and 2. And then you hope he gets a third touchdown for a big game. The Kyler game, this Bears defense is playing phenomenal right now. The Bears defense is another thing we talked about last week about picking up the Bears defense or the Colts defense for their fantasy schedule in the playoffs here. And the Bears put up 18 fantasy points last week. They've been on fire, one of the top units here. And if you look forward, you got them at home versus Arizona here in the cold. You get a a warm weather team coming, to Chicago. I don't know what the weather is, but got to figure it's probably going to be pretty nasty and in 20s. And next week you get the Bears at home again versus a struggling garbage Atlanta offense. So the Bears defense, you're going to see them on
struggling.
Championship rosters.
They're not struggling.
Who's not struggling?
Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's been like this all year.
Come on, Nando. Yeah, no, they're not struggling. They just scored 6 points, can't move the ball, and bench their starting quarterback.
No, I mean they're not good. They haven't been great all year. Struggling makes it sound like the Jags are struggling, right? Like the Jags have fallen apart. Like
do you remember the week before? Do you remember the week before when they scored 30 points and everybody went off? Do you remember that or no?
Yeah, and that was 1 week in a sea of frustration for fantasy players.
All right, so
why don't you hold that mug up and remind
trust
people?
that Falcons offense then in Chicago next week.
No, I'm not saying no. I'm saying they suck. I'm saying you can't call them struggling though.
Okay, so they suck.
Right. By the way, so Jake has your boy 17th. He has Stafford 10th. He's got Stafford 10 and Murray 12. So let me pose this to you. Would you put Mullins ahead of like Murray maybe? Murray's got no wide receivers. I mean, like he's got
the reason why Jake and most fantasy rankers have, a guy like Murray over Mullins is because of the rushing factor, because they're factoring in 4-point fantasy leagues, to get the rushing upside. Me, I like to tend to talk more about 6-point passing leagues because that's what most of my leagues are. So I honestly think Nick Mullins is set up well to maybe go 300 and 2 or 3 passing touchdowns. Okay. So, I mean, right there, that would be about 25, 30 fantasy points in NFFC scoring. So I don't think Murray's getting there. So that's why I have Mullins as a top 8 fantasy quarterback this week. And I also love,
like it.
I would love, there's 2 quarterbacks that I just absolutely love heading into this week 16. I think you're set up so well if you have Justin Fields, actually the other quarterback on the opposite side of Kyler Murray in this game, gets to face this Arizona defense that everyone's just tearing apart. And you get him off of a slow week where he struggled in Cleveland. And that Justin Fields, DJ Moore combination, that would be my number 1 combination for this upcoming week that I think is going to completely explode. And the other quarterback is a quarterback that threw for less than 100 yards this past week, and that's Josh Allen. Because if you can't look at the schedule and see them as 11-point favorites going indoors to play the Chargers defense that just got carved up by Aiden O'Connell, okay, I don't know what's a juicier matchup that you should be salivating if you're, more than if you're a Josh Allen owner going into this week. So Josh Allen's going to have one of those 340 and 3 or 4 touchdown type games, just blowing the Chargers off the field.
Are you, are we sure? I mean, like Chargers have a new coach, you know what I mean? Maybe Staley was not popular. Maybe they could Antonio Pierce their way into something, at least maybe not a win, but like not a blowout,
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. I mean, that's you though, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I think that you could possibly look at it as like, the Bills looked at the success they had trying to turn their offense into more of a running team last week, and maybe that's how Josh Allen doesn't put up the monster numbers. But if that's the case, then hey, James Cook Day again.
Right? Are you on the Bills? Like I know the Bills have become like a.
No, they lost too many people. Nope.
They've been like a really awesome Super Bowl winning pick.
They're going nowhere, but I don't really know who is going anywhere in the AFC. Like
Raiders.
It's like I thought Miami was the team, like I said last week, and then they lost to Tennessee. Now they looked good against the Jets this past week. And it looks like them and the Ravens, the clear top 2 teams, because I still don't believe the Chiefs. Everybody's trying to jump back on this Buffalo bandwagon, but defensively, I just think they lost too many pieces on the defensive side that, they'll get in the playoffs and they'll, maybe win a game, but they're going to have to travel on the road 3 weeks in a row. So, But whatever. That's a real life NFL story. We're talking fantasy here.
Yeah, totally.
Rashad White is still a monster, by the way, Nando.
Yeah,
huh?
He is, right? Right.
Rashad White is just, I was dead wrong about Rashad White. Faded him completely. Looked like a genius for the first 6 or 7, weeks of the season because he did nothing. And now you see him littered on a ton of fantasy rosters all across the board at the top of, the standings after week 1. He's just been so consistent. It seems like 20 fantasy points week in and week out for Rashad White. He's a top 3 or 4 fantasy back the rest of the season here. And, there's just a small handful of guys that you want here for these next couple of weeks, and he's definitely one of them.
How do you make? What kind of tea are you drinking right now?
Lipton.
Really? I don't buy it. Knowing you, I feel like it's some kind of designer.
Simple
Cackleberry.
man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're a very simple man. You put
Simple
something weird
man.
in the rundown here. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What's the winning combo, and why was it there under our nose the whole time?
Yeah. How about so Nando? That goes back to. It's funny because I was thinking about this after the first week of the playoffs. What have we talked about, and everybody in the fantasy industry, all like this last month, about what's the winning combination that you want? Is it Dak Prescott to CD Lamb? Is it Hurts to AJ Brown? Everybody's trying to get the hot quarterback hooked up with the hot wide receiver, and that's going to be the winning combination for fantasy playoffs this year, right?
Yep.
And it's funny because now you think about it, and it's like it's not a quarterback to wide receiver combination. That's that winning combination that you wanted. And it was right under our nose the whole time. And to me, it's Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey, a quarterback and a running back combination on the same team, because they can both go off every week. They're on the top offense, the top team. Okay, everybody's in love with Purdy. Everybody, Christian McCaffrey's the running back you want and need. And you don't hear anybody being like, hey, what you need to win fantasy championship this week is this year is your Niners, Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. And I see a couple teams that have that combination of Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. They got to be licking their chops. But unfortunately, they got the toughest matchup they're going to see in the Ravens defense this week. But the Ravens defense can be had. But that's just the combination. Think about it. We went into the fantasy playoffs, Nando, last week, and Dak Prescott goes and bombs. All those people that rode Dak Prescott into the fantasy playoffs are done.
Yeah.
He gave 6 or 7 fantasy points. Done. CD Lamb had to bail you out late in the game with a rushing touchdown to stay relevant. All the CD Lamb owners, okay? I want to get into the Eagles offense because that's a horror show. They're screwed. It's just all the, that we talked about the CJ Stroud and Tank Dell, Nico Collins. That's done, over and done with.
That's sad. That was exciting.
Yeah, there was a lot of, think about it. In November, there were so many hot quarterback receiver combinations that everybody was like, oh, you need that. Right. It was right under our nose the whole time. You needed Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. Because what receivers? If I told you, Nando, if I told you, all right, what receiver are you going to ride to a fantasy championship in week 15 and then these next 2 weeks? You can't say anybody. Who are you going to say? Right? You're going to throw out somebody stupid, but
no, I was actually thinking, I'm like,
but
who can you are? You are.
It's all
his mind.
Exactly. So I won't even give you the spotlight to answer the question. But I'm just saying, all the receivers, we thought Tyreek Hill was going to be that guy.
Man, he's hurt.
We didn't have Tyreek Hill in week 15, so all those owners are screwed. It's just, it's Purdy and McCaffrey. That's, I think, the winning combination. We see.
Look at Joey Brown.
Right, Joey says Goff and Laporta. That's another good one. Obviously the monster Laporta game week 1. He's one of the few tight ends you're going to need to win in the an overall and you win your fantasy championship. And obviously you see all the people at the top of the leaderboards in these high stakes contests after week 1. They all have the Jared Goffs, the Sam Laporta combination with a whole mixture.
Who's number 1?
Shout out to your boy who's leading the prime time.
It could be anyone. I've mentioned so many of your friends. Is it Glenn Lowy or is it Mike Edelman?
Oh, wait, what'd you call him?
Michael Edelman.
Mark Edelman. What happened to Mark Edelman, his brother?
I figured out they're not brothers. I figured out like what
Mark and Mike Edelman.
Mark is the lawyer on Twitter.
Yeah.
Mike is your hero. I believe that's
how I remember it. Shout out to our boy Mike Edelman leading the NFFC primetime after week 1. He's got a loaded team. Listen, after week 1,
it's crazy how these guys who are good at this every year,
all the time. Yeah, and
you've fallen off. So
I'm glad
badly.
okay. Listen, if you think that, I don't know about that. I'm doing okay, but I'm definitely not at the top of the overall. But listen, Duke Viveros, shout out to Duke Viveros, a great guy.
Oh, here we go. Here comes the roll call. Here comes the high stakes roll call.
Listen, you gotta give a shout out to the guys that are successful. I know you don't care about the high stakes world, Nando. Okay, but this show is always, catered to.
I love the high stakes world.
Stakes.
I don't have to name.
Listen, that's where we're at.
Played a high stakes game.
Listen,
shout out to Jeff Johnson.
Our friend Tommy Libretti, who's back again. He's got a top 3 team, but all these 3 teams have the same things in common. James Cook, Kyron Williams. You see the same familiar team. One name that you see on these teams after week 1 that I think, Nando, is going to be a popular name you see these 3 weeks is Jaylen Waddle. Okay?
All right.
And I think that's ironic. I mean, he had 29 fantasy points this opening week. And with the question mark surrounding Tyreek Hill and the schedule that Miami has these next 2 weeks, wouldn't it be ironic if Jaylen Waddle was one of the main guys that helps ship an overall and fantasy championship straight across the board? And let's not stop there, because I think it is pretty funny that round 2 bombs, guys that killed you in round 2, are going to be the guys that step back in now in the fantasy playoffs and help people win championships. Jaylen Waddle, T. Higgins, another bomb all year long. These are the 2 biggest bombs in round 2, pretty much. They did nothing for you all year long. Now they come out, they have T. Higgins at like a 23-point game. You're not going to see Jamar Chase. Probably the rest of the season. T. Higgins is going to step up these last couple weeks, be the number 1 receiver for the Bengals, and they're going to try and get him paid. Okay. You know how you probably don't, but you have to assume in these locker rooms, hey, listen, I'm a free agent in the offseason. I got 3 games to go here. You got to get me my numbers here that I look like a friggin' absolute stud wide receiver 1, that when I go out on the market, I get my $20 million a year. So that's going to be the focal point for T. Higgins. He won't be back in Cincinnati, but someone else is going to pay the guy. And that quarterback, Browning, is going to be like, all right, I got you. Don't worry about it. We're going to feed you. So Jaylen Waddle,
I've been in more locker rooms than you
T.
have.
Higgins. Yeah, I doubt it.
I bet I have. And I'm not even talking about
the
sports reporting. I mean, just playing.
What sports did you play, Nando?
Played basketball.
I played sports all my life.
No, so did I. I don't know why you think I didn't play sports.
Hockey, baseball.
You did not. I would love to see Chris Vacarro skating around.
Straight through high school. I don't know what you're talking about, but I can't. You were like reading books probably on the bleachers.
What did you play?
So here's home studying.
Here's the interesting thing.
No, let's not get off topic.
Was Chris Vacarro a goon defenseman, or was he like a forward who demanded the puck all the time? I see both of these being very, very true.
I was absolutely a forward. I was a starting center.
The team must have hated you. Hated you. I need to
talk
to people who were on your hockey team.
Sophomore year, I pumped home 23 goals. Team MVP. There you go.
You were probably very selfish. Give me the puck, reaming out guys who didn't pass the puck to you.
Yes, pretty much.
Why didn't you go play in college?
Listen, besides, I wasn't good enough. Okay, there wasn't too many.
Please,
there wasn't much demand for an Italian under 6 foot hockey center. Anyway.
Except for Brian Gianta, no big deal.
Oh, good call, Brian Gianta, nice.
Oh, it's
But
coming.
listen, Jaylen Waddle, T. Higgins, and guess what? We saw the emergence of another big-time number 2 wide receiver that did nothing all year long for fantasy teams, and that's Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Bucs. So those 3 guys right there all went 23, 24, 25, 28 fantasy points, okay? And maybe these 3 guys get on a hot roll. And if you got these guys, they're not highly owned in overall contests just because they did nothing all year long. But if you built your teams well around them, and now you can get 3 weeks of big-time production that you hoped for when you drafted these 3 guys really might be the key to fantasy championships. And we see it every year, Nando. We see 3 guys, 2, 3, 4 guys be like, what did you need to win in the fantasy championship? At the wide receiver position, I just think those might be the 3 names that, you need right there.
Yeah. My basketball
Chris Godwin, by the way. Yeah, what was your basketball? Oh, God. Nando, you didn't get off the bench. There's absolutely no way you got off
I don't
the
know.
bench.
I don't understand what this hatred is.
Just not hatred. Just can't see it.
I'll play you one-on-one in every sport you'd like.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
let's see who wins.
Oh, man. All
Not
right.
hockey because I can't ice skate.
Okay.
I mean, I've tried. I just
You
can't
name it.
wrap my head around it. Maybe
Absolutely.
field hockey. Field hockey?
This is the point of the show, everybody, where Nando doesn't know what other topics to bring up. And
I
he
do.
just
All I have to
drags
do is look
out
at your list.
Crappy, stuff.
And your
Okay.
vague.
Nando, how about this? Speaking of
Week
Chris Godwin.
15 was good. Yes? Question mark.
Yeah, okay.
Late
Speaking
surge
of
of
Chris-
struggling players. Oh, we did that. Eagles panic
Yeah,
time,
I'm not
comma.
gonna
They
talk.
suck.
Let me know when you're done wasting time.
And don't forget to shout out Lipton because they give me free tea at my restaurant. We got that? Let's talk about Lynn Bowden.
Oh, my God. Absolutely not.
He's
Chris
going to win some
Godwin.
leagues.
Chris Godwin, Nando, and that Bucs offense. If I gave you, how crazy is this? The rest of the season, if I told you a month ago, hey, I could give you the Tampa Bay stack or the Eagles stack for the fantasy playoffs, which one would you take? Who would you take going forward? These last 2
take the
weeks,
Eagles
would
stack.
you want you would?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's
they're
definitely
gonna
a
step
debatable
up.
question.
I mean,
think it's a debate. Here's your out for the Eagles. Your only shot, okay? Your only shot with the Eagles. They get 2 home games versus the Cardinals and the Giants, okay? That's the only out that you have in this Eagles offense. The Eagles offense is a chain-moving offense. They try and pick up 10 yards at a time.
Yeah.
8-yard outs to A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. They take 1 or 2 deep shots. There's no flow. The offense used to be like fireworks. When you watched this offense last year, it used to just be like, how quickly are they going to score? This team it's methodical. It's garbage. I don't know what's going on in Philadelphia. I guess, who's hurt or whatever. You see A.J. Brown now bitching on social media, pretty much sounding like him and Jalen Hurts aren't seeing eye to eye. It's just complete crap. I saw something yesterday where 28% of Jalen Hurts fantasy production this year is on the tush push. Imagine that. And I'm a huge Jalen Hurts. I'm a Jalen Hurts owner in 2 big leagues. And I could tell you from watching every single Eagles snap this year that it's just not right. And if he didn't get all these 1-yard tush push touchdowns, I don't know where we would be as Jalen Hurts owners because it's just not happening anymore. We have to limp to the finish line here and pray that the defenses that he's faced in these next 2 weeks in the Giants and Arizona is good enough to get by. But long term, if we were in the middle of the season seeing this, I'd be like, oh man, we're in big time trouble.
Maybe they've been playing possum and they're like, look, let's just win, get into the playoffs, and then we'll explode and catch everybody off guard. AJ, go online and say something vaguely weird that people will misinterpret and make them think that you don't like Jalen.
Yeah,
that's what I would do. That's 3D chess that I would play.
Yeah, no, that definitely. I think you're spot on with that one. That's a great.
Thank you.
But big time troubles in Philly. And to your point, no, because they're sitting here, they're blowing the NFC East, they're blowing the 1 seed. They're not out here trying to lose 3 games in a row, but they need to get it done here. Take some deep shots, open the offense up. It's just, it's bad. So back to my original point. If I gave you Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans and Godwin, and a stud top 3 running back and Rachaad White, I think I would want that Bucs stack the rest of the way than a Hurts, Brown, Devonta Smith, and DeAndre Swift who's doing nothing. And it's just crazy.
I mean, DeAndre
if you told
Swift
somebody that a month ago, people would look at you like, you needed your head examined.
If he's not all messed up, I mean, maybe he's just like a little afraid this is going to happen again, you know? Purdy or Goff this week?
You got to stick with Purdy. I mean, listen, I get it. That's a tough one, honestly. You have to stick with the hot offense and Purdy. Goff is hot too. It's that one made me think there, just because I want as many pieces, Nando, of the Lions-Vikings game and the Cowboys-Dolphins game this week. When you look at the schedule this week, it's another shitty schedule of a lot of
Chris,
rough
family
matchups.
show, man.
There's not really that many games that you look at. Like I told you, I love the situation the Buffalo offense is in.
Yes.
But like Seattle and Tennessee, Washington and the Jets, it's like, Green Bay, Carolina, you don't want any part of that. Cleveland and the Texans without CJ Stroud looks like a 2017 type game. Arizona, Chicago has some potential. A lot of controversy around, a lot of question marks around that Jacksonville Tampa game, which I had my eyes on for weeks, thinking like, all right, that's the game. That's one of the top 2 or 3 games that week for fantasy. But if we don't have Trevor Lawrence, I'm getting out of that game, completely on the Jaguar side. So, there's not many offenses we could trust here. There's not many players. It's very condensed here. So those are the 2 games I would really want. The benefit, if you're the Goff guy, you just saw Jared Goff go off. Now he was at home in the Dome, and that Lions offense was due to bounce back and have a big time game. He's got the weapons. Jamison Williams is coming on now. He played like 73% of the snaps this past week. I think he might be a little bit of an extra boost for this offense the rest of the way and into the playoffs for the Lions. But what you're getting here is this Vikings defense also is no slouch. They're playing
Flores,
decently. Man. You got to factor that in. But I don't know if in week 16 you could look and say, I'm going to put Purdy on my bench with all his weapons and offense. I know the Ravens defense isn't the defense you want to look up and be facing right now, but I don't think it matters for this San Francisco offense in this game on national television in the big Christmas night game. He's going for MVP. Brock Purdy's now the favorite in Vegas.
That's crazy.
Got to go with Purdy over Jared Goff, in my opinion.
He's got. I mean, yeah. You missed this in the holiday party. We opened Dick Tracy cards. Remember Dick Tracy, the movie? You told me to save you all the Madonnas.
Your Christmas party consisted of you and a bunch of dudes on a Zoom opening baseball cards and Dick Tracy cards. And you thought I would attend that?
There were women there. Yeah, everyone was hanging out. There were women.
And
everyone hanging out.
I would attend that?
No, you haven't attended. I've tried everything to try and get you to come. I tried a magician. I've tried giving away free cards.
Oof.
Tommy DeVito was there.
Okay.
Our dads are friends. So I'm like, hey, pop in for like 5 minutes. Like, all right, cool.
Nice.
And his agent came on. What do you think of his agent?
Oh man, don't get me started, man.
Yeah,
these are all aren't these all Syracuse boys? That's why you know all these guys, right? They're all
not the agent.
Oh no.
I think he's like Long Island.
I think his choice of suits and everything are a little out of control.
I wonder, like, if you're a football player, as I know you were in high school, and you saw that guy, would you be like, I want that guy to represent me? Like, not even like how he dresses, but like kind of making it all about him, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, good for Tommy DeVito showing up at that pizza place anyway. I
Did
know
he?
You love that kind of, yeah, you
the
love
one
those
where
stories.
he jacked up his he wanted 10,000 and he decided, well, I'm actually too big for this now. I want 20,000.
He showed up free. Just showed up, made some
He
sodas,
didn't
and
show
had
up.
a piece of pizza.
He didn't show up free, Nando. Only a fool believes that.
No, I believe that he would have done that because it was such bad press.
Mhm.
It was such horrible press.
Yeah.
I think before it's like, come get some autographs and stuff. And here it was like, I'm just going to pop in, eat some pizza, have Darren Ravel take my picture, and be nice to these Italians.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's wrap it up. I know you're sick, quote unquote. I'm waiting for you to go ahead.
What do you want me to go ahead? You just said you were
do you have
going to
anything
wrap
you
up
want to
the
throw in there?
show.
I don't know. Do you have anything you want to throw in there? I mean, I don't know. Like, you
just-
feel sated, like you've said everything you need to say?
Oh, Jesse, Njoku or likely rest of schedule? That's a good question. David Njoku since week 7 is tight end 1.
Did you hit that
That's
button?
pretty cool. Yep.
You've known how to do this all this time?
do this. Yeah, for weeks, of course. I just let you ruin the show. Wow. Listen, I love Isaiah Likely going
I didn't
forward.
call on Jesse because I didn't like how he
today.
asked the question. There's no thanks. There's no question mark. So I was just going to let it go and end the show.
Yeah, David Njoku would still be
Here, watch
my
this.
selection.
I can take you right out of here. Look at that. Oh,
Be so annoying to the listeners as I'm trying to give fantasy advice, and you're just
giving
keep,
advice to
like,
one
talking.
person.
It's just
Singular.
so, and it
All
could
right, go
help
ahead.
a lot of others.
Go ahead, give your advice.
A-Chain or Brees Hall rest of schedule. Oh God. Listen, I play that week to week. This upcoming week, like I said, give me. I like Brees Hall's situation at home versus Washington. I think this is the game that he bounces back. So that would be my that would be my pick. Hasn't been pretty, but then again, listen, you're fighting for scraps after Raheem Mostert with Devin A-Chain. And he can do it. He doesn't need that many touches, but still.
You let me know when you're ready now.
Say it again.
Do you want to hit more buttons? Go ahead. All this time you could have been helping me hitting these buttons and making these commercial
I'm
transitions.
the one busy talking. You're over there doing nothing. So you could at least look at the questions as they come in and put up some good ones, but
I do.
You can't even get that done, Nando.
Jesse didn't.
Nando, this is the Christmas edition.
Hey,
this will be our last show before Christmas. What's Christmas in the Fino household like? You up building toys all morning long, all night long, or what?
I'm looking at them. They've been built. They're right. They're over here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must be that must be chaos in a household of 3 little kids.
Yeah.
Do you put out milk and cookies at night? What do you put out?
Actually, I do that every night. It's not just Christmas.
You put like Gabagol and Bravolone out instead, or what do you put out?
Bravolone.
What do you put out?
Nothing.
Are you a milk and cookies family, or you go a little?
Everyone does that. Come on, Chris.
Go a little different.
You make fun of my questions. I want to talk about Lynn Bowden, and you're out here talking about milk and cookies on Christmas Eve. That's really messed up. That's what
you would have brought up. If you would have tried, the fact that you put Lynn Bowden on the rundown and actually wanted to have a discussion about him is just cringeworthy. It's cringeworthy.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Let's get out of here, man. You claim you're sick.
Let's do it. Good luck to everybody. Go
ahead. Wait, watch. One of these buttons lets me lower it. There you go. Go ahead.
That's it.
Say goodbye. Say goodbye.
Thanks for sticking with us. We'll talk to you after Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody. Enjoy.
And you spell it CHRIS-MAS.
It was all a dream. I used to